Back to Contemporary Black Voices, and now it's time for Hot Topics. But before we get to the Hot Topics, we had some comments on our last show, and let's see if I can pull them up. Okay, I want to read this comment right here, and it's from Unpunished Guilt 3494. And Unpunished Guilt writes, can I suggest a topic? The number of black people dying in America's healthcare today. The declining population of descendants of slaves in America. To be honest, when I first started watching your show out of curiosity to see what old folks are doing, I realized that I was probably older than most of the people on this show. Then he says, hello. On the side note, someone was looking extremely sexy in that black tonight.
Uh-oh. The lovely Dr. Sharon.
Lovely Dr. Sharon. Okay, so let's get to our hot topic. Before we get started, I want to make it clear to all our viewers that no one up here is anti-Semitic. We're not. I've had a lot of friends that have been Jewish, and I was living during the time when a lot of the Jewish students participated in the bus rides down in the South, to integration. So we're not that. But what we want to do is get away from the way the media is viewing this whole issue that's happening over in Israel and the Gaza Strip. I think we need a more objective look at this. It's not all one way. And the four of us in our pre-broadcast meeting said, we need to address this because it's not being fair. Because as we know, people in the Gaza Strip are dying also. And that's not what our media is doing. So what I wanted to do is start out with going to our encyclopedia. No, seriously, the man is an encyclopedia. His knowledge is unbelievable on all subjects. And that's Caleb. And give us a little background, Caleb, on this whole situation.
So background-wise, I don't know how far you want to go back. So,
but no, let's not go all the way back to Moses.
Let's not go back. We can go back.
But let's not go back to Moses.
And honestly, there's a mythology that you do need to dispel first, and that mythology of a right of a right, because everything that the reason that things are going on today is because there's this mythology of a Jewish right to that land.
Okay.
So you kind of do have to go back a little bit and dispel that right.
Why do you call it a mythology?
Because they base their claim, and everything I'm going to say, you can look it up, you can research it. They base their claim on the Torah. Okay? I've read the Torah a couple of times. So they base their claim on a land that was promised to them. That's what their claim is based on. And so if you want to base your claim on that, one, either your God who promised you that land was either he was an Indian giver or he had dementia because he promised it to a whole lot of other folks too. And so the reason I say that is because when they marched into that land, first of all, there was somebody already there. There were Canaanites that were already occupied that land. So they marched into it and they took it.
You're talking about 1948?
No, not yet. They marched into that land and they took the land. We're talking about Joshua, right? We're talking about the Torah.
Okay.
So they took the land from someone else.
Okay.
And this is their basis for their claim that they have a historic right to that land.
Okay.
But my thing is this, though. You took it from the Canaanites, but you occupied that land for a very short period of time before it was taken from you. So if you're basing your claim on that, then everyone else has a claim to that land too. Because the Assyrians took the land. The Mesopotamians took the land. The Babylonians, the Byzantines, the Romans, the Greeks, the Persians. Everybody has a claim to that land. So if you're basing that on the fact that you took that land, then everybody else has a claim to that land too. So we need to dispel that first. This idea of a Jewish claim. That's why it's mythology.
Okay.
So now dispelling that, we can move forward and we can talk about the Sykes-Picot, and we can talk about the Balfour Declaration. And so I I think people have to understand the role that white folks in World War II played.
President Truman.
Truman played a big role in that,
Yeah.
and so the British, of course, you know, it's a British. And another thing, if you ever want to just understand white supremacy and how arrogant it is, Churchill is the one who drew the maps. And just Google Churchill's hiccup, and you will understand white supremacy and what it is, and just how arrogant it is. So just Google that. But when you talk about this, when you talk about Balfour, I know you and I talked a little bit about Balfour Declaration, right? And so basically what it is, first we start with Sykes-Picot, which drew the maps, right? The maps were drawn after the breakup of the Ottoman Empire, right? And so this immigration, this Israeli immigration into the region, I mean, that it had been occurring, right, for quite some time. They done this. It was purposeful. This Jewish immigration into Palestine, and so the Americans played a role in it. And I'll tell you how the Americans played a role in it, because Americans and British got together and said we don't need them coming here to the United States. So in 1920, they stopped Jewish immigration into the United States, which pushed Jewish immigration into Palestine. And so there are a couple of things. So I don't want to get tied up into the history of it.
Right.
And so I'm skipping over a lot. I just want to move forward and just give you the groundwork of it. And so they moved into the region. They took the land from the Palestinians. What people need to understand is that they were, before this massive Jewish immigration, there were the people there, the Jewish people there were Palestinians. They were Jewish Palestinians. They were Jewish, Jewish Palestinians and Muslim Palestinians, and they lived together. The conflict that's going on today stems from Europe. It stems from white Jews coming into the land. It's a conflict of white supremacy, because prior to the European Jews coming in, those folks lived in peace. And so that's the most important thing that you have to understand about this conflict. The Jews that came into the land that started this were primarily from Russia and Romania. And that's what kind of sparked today's conflict, them taking that land.
Well, let me address this issue. It bothers me. Did Hamas just all of a sudden decide, well, let's go kill us some Jews?
Right.
Let's go in there and bomb them. And did they just, or was there anything behind that caused them to all of a sudden do what they did after all the years of there being somewhat, not really peace, but.
Right. So, I mean, and so again, I needed to kind of lay that foundation, because when the Jews talk about, or the Israelis talk, there's a difference between a Zionist, there's a difference between an Israeli, there's a difference between a Jewish person. Not all Israelis are Zionists. Not all Jewish people are Zionists. So I want to make that difference. But so when you talk about that, right? You have to. I'm sorry. You have to say. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Yeah.
So
Did Hamas just all of a sudden decide, well, let's go there and bomb Israel?
Right. So
it was something that led up to that, making them finally decide to do something terrible as that.
Right. So here's the deal. So when you talk about that, there's a history, okay? And the simple fact of the matter is, there's a Zionist history here. There's a history of white supremacy, and so there's a history of oppression that precedes that. Right now, no, let me go back. So when the Jews want to talk about peace, but they want to begin to talk about peace. Their idea of peace is give up your land, right? You give me everything. I go to you and I say, give me your house, your car, your money, give me everything, and then we can have peace. That's the Jewish version of peace. And so they want to start with peace today, but you can't start with peace today. You have to approach peace from the idea that you took somebody else's stuff. So when you want to talk about peace, you want to talk about peace where you occupy someone else's land, you took it from them, you starved them out. And so that's going to be the basis of peace. It's like, hey, first we need to talk about why are you here, and you need to go home. And then and if you never came here, then there would be peace.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's the two different ideas of what peace is. So when you talk about what preceded it, that's the biggest thing that preceded. Also, there's something in Jewish history and Palestinian history called the Nakba, where over more than 1 million Palestinians were murdered and expelled by the Israelis. So you have to,
What
again,
time period you talk about?
the Nakba in 1948.
Okay.
So you have to kind of set that stage for it and everything that came after, right? So you have this expulsion of the Palestinian people, the seizure of their land, and ever since then they've been living in poverty. They've created an apartheid state. Israel is an apartheid state, unequivocally, because you have an entire segment of your population that has no voting rights. They're not allowed to the educational system. They have no economy. There's no economy in Gaza. The Israelis cut the water off. They cut the lights off.
Electricity off, yeah.
They have an embargo, so they can't get in fuel and food.
Right now.
They routinely do it. Even before
routinely
this,
they did that?
routinely do that.
Really?
Yes, the embargo has been in place. That embargo is not something that's recent. It's been in place. So food and fuel has to be smuggled in to the Gaza Strip.
Really?
Yeah. So as of right now, we have 24 hours before the hospitals run out of fuel. The hospital generators run out of fuel. As of right now, 24 hours. So all the people who depend on critical hospital machinery, respirators, ventilators, by this time tomorrow, those generators will run out and those people will start dying in mass.
And they can't, they won't be able to recover from that in enough time to save these people.
Unless the Israelis allow fuel for the generators in.
Do you think they're going to?
Absolutely not. They're setting the stage for a ground war. They've told 1.1 million Palestinians that they have to leave
Their land.
their right again.
But where are they going to go? I mean, how are they going to get out?
That's the thing.
They can't get out.
They can't go south into Egypt.
Right.
Because the Egyptians have sealed the border. They can't go west because it's the Mediterranean Sea. They can't go north or east because then they'd be in Israel. So they have all that was for the media. It's a show for the media. We're telling them to leave, but they have no place to go. The other thing is that of the 2.2 million Palestinians, half of them are children. 1.1 million of them are children.
And they're densely.
And within a 17 square miles.
Yeah, and they're dropping those bombs.
As of today, they've dropped 8,000 bombs within a 17 square mile radius.
In a 6-day period.
So you have to understand what 17 square miles. So you probably take something about the size of the east side with 2 million people packed in.
Wow.
And they've dropped over 8,000 bombs.
So do you think they're going to eliminate Palestinians from that area altogether?
The little infrastructure they had, it's gone. It's already gone. It's devastated. And they're setting the stage for a ground war. So the Israelis, they don't want peace. They've never wanted peace. They want the land.
So if they get the land, which they're going to be able to do with our help, what happens then? Will all the Palestinians be like what America did to the Native Americans, put on plantations or?
Well,
or
they
put
already
on,
are.
They
Gaza's an open air prison camp. That's basically what it is. It's just it's an open air prison camp. So, like I say, they have this fallacy, this that Israel is a democracy. Is not a democracy. The Israelis can go into they can search your woman. The Israeli soldiers can walk up to a Palestinian woman and search her. They can detain your kid. They can kill you without cause, without any kind of there's not going to be any kind of trial, any kind of justice, anything. They can just kill you. They can take over your home and make it into a temporary base camp if they choose to do so. So I mean, just think about the founding of this country. Think about the list of grievances that were enumerated against George. Right? You can. There's taxation without representation. Yeah. The Palestinians don't participate in the Israeli Knesset. They have no vote. George has quartered soldiers in our homes. The Israeli military can go into the Palestinians' home and take them over as a temporary base camp. And you can go down the list. And so everything that made America's founding fathers go to war and separate against England, the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians.
Well, okay, let me ask you, why are we so biased? Why can't MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC report this more objectively? Why is it
because they're all owned by Jewish people.
That, and it's white supremacists supporting white supremacists. A lot of people don't, and it's something else. The Israelis gave the South African apartheid government nuclear weapons to use against black folks. So, like Brother Batin was saying, why are we so, black folks so gung-ho and adamant against Israel? And so, like I said, they gave South Africans nuclear weapons so that they can nuke black folks. And so, look at how the Israelis treat black Jewish people in their country. Look how they treat the Phoenicia Jews from Ethiopia in Israel. I want you to understand, and these are facts. The cocaine that came into the black community that destroyed the black community as a result of what we talked about last week, Iran-Contra. Research the role that Israel played in Iran-Contra and how that resulted in the destruction of the black community.
Let me ask you, where is Jerusalem in all of this geographically?
It's located on the West Bank.
Of Israel?
Right. So the Israelis seized the West Bank from Jordan.
Okay.
And so it's located on the West Bank. The settlements, the big deal about the West Bank is the settlements.
So let me tell you, let me preface why I asked that question, is because you remember when Trump was in office, he unequivocally just said, we're going to make Jerusalem the capital.
Right.
Okay. And I think all of these things, when you talk about Hamas and what's going on with Hamas now, I think it may not be just one thing that's happened, but I think a layer of things that have been happening, what the Jewish people may have been or may not have been doing. America talking about, okay, we're going to make Jerusalem the capital. You know, how do we even tell somebody who's going to have the capital or something else? So I think all of these things have culminated to be what Hamas is doing. Then I asked the question, is Hamas and the Palestinians the same? The answer would have to be no, because Hamas would almost be like the Ku Klux Klan. You know, would you consider the Ku Klux Klan as being America? Well, the answer would be no.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
The Ku Klux Klan is very much a part of America.
Okay,
but but to answer your question, yes, the Hamas is very much a part of the Palestinian movement, because it's you fight with what you have.
I understand that, but my question is, I guess then, do you blame or is it justified for Israel to go into Palestine and to defeat their people and children and so forth when they know it's Hamas who's causing the problem?
So no, and that's the issue. It's this heavy hand, right? You drop 8,000 bombs within
a week.
Within a 17 square mile radius. Those people are not Hamas. They're not 8,000 Hamas members, but you dropped 8,000 bombs.
Right.
And so that's this heavy-handedness. They've never wanted peace. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? They've always wanted the elimination of the Palestinian people, because two people can't.
And this gives them their excuse.
It's their excuse. And so if you look at every single member of Netanyahu's cabinet has called for the extermination at one time of the Palestinian people. They cheered the murder of Palestinian people. Every single one of his cabinet members. That's why he chose them to be in the cabinet members.
And I think one of the bad things about this, we talked about this before, but when you're not letting those people out, okay?
Right.
But they're also saying, we're going to let you out, but they're not letting you out, okay? And then they're going to bomb all of these places, and these people have no way to get out.
Right. And so you have to understand. So the Palestinians are located in two different areas. They are located on the Gaza Strip, which is near the Mediterranean,
Okay.
and they're located on the West Bank, which
Okay.
is on the opposite side.
Okay.
None of them have any kind of rights. There are streets that Palestinians can't walk. They were Jewish-only streets.
What? Really?
Yeah, there are Jewish-only streets that Palestinians can't walk now. There are places, there are movie theaters. When I tell you it's an apartheid state, it's an apartheid state, for
Wow.
real. It is not a democracy. And this country is supporting that. It supports it militarily, it supports it financially, and it supports it because this is an apartheid state that we live in.
Well, before we run out of time, the one thing that I want to make clear is that my situation is that we look at all of those stations and networks that you talked about, and all we see is the pro-Israel information.
Right.
We don't get any information about the Palestinians.
Right.
So everybody, whether it be the churches, whether it be black people, whether it be white people, everybody's praising and saying that Israel should be this particular way and we should protect Israel. And I think Israel, to me, is like a bad kid. Okay? They're throwing rocks at everybody else, you know, and we're saying to everybody else, oh, it's okay.
No, so
Okay,
Israel-
let's do this. Okay,
I gotta make
go ahead.
we
Go
get
ahead.
hot topics. We got no.
Okay.
This is the point, right? They like to play this Holocaust charge, right? So they like to play the sympathy card and the Holocaust card, saying, you know what, this is what we went through. But the same thing they went through, the same thing the Germans did to them, they left and did to the Palestinian people.
They're doing now.
They're doing to the Palestinian. They did to the Palestinian people, continue to do to the Palestinian people. So you can't play that card where you're doing what was done to you. You're doing it even 10 times worse to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And so
Oh, yeah.
with us as black people, when they talk about the Holocaust, you know what I mean? This is the face I give to them. Like, you know what I mean? Because your Holocaust where you had 6 million people doesn't matter. When the Jews talk about the Holocaust, we know which one. But when we talk about the Holocaust, when it comes to us, we got to ask which one. Was it Leopold's extermination of 20 million people, 20 million black folks in the Congo? Or was it Cecil Rhodes' extermination of 30 million people in South Africa?
Wow.
Or was it the Portuguese extermination of all those black folks in Brazil? The average lifespan of a slave in Brazil was 1 week.
Good
So
point.
yeah, so
Get down, brother.
No, I don't have no sympathy. Don't talk to me with no sympathy. I'm talking about a Holocaust. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to my people, I have to ask you which one.
Right.
So I don't. Hey. So anyway, yeah, we're good. Like I said, Carl, you got me animated over here. So we'll go ahead and take it out on that.
Okay, now what I want to do is ask each one of you, what do you see as the outcome? What do you want? I'll start over with Chris. What do you see as the outcome?
Unfortunately, right now, I see world war. And it's starting in what is known as the Middle East, which is actually the tip of Africa. I see the African nations, China, Russia. I just heard that Brazil are all on the side of the Palestinians. Okay. Then you've got the United States who's over here and what they're doing. I see everybody is going to have to take a side in this, and that's not good.
Okay, brother.
I mean, the Israelis are going to go in there and they're going to massacre. The numbers are going to be into the tens of thousands, if not the hundreds of thousands, of Palestinian deaths. And so America's going to, again, they've sent an aircraft carrier to sit off the coast of Israel to warn all the black countries around Israel, all the brown countries around Israel not to get involved. So what's going to happen is Israel's going to go in there and they're going to massacre those folks. They're going to send a message to the Palestinian population on the West Bank. And so their policies are more about oppression and about terror. And so what they're going to do is just set an example so that the larger Palestinian population on the West Bank doesn't try anything. And so that's going to be the outcome. It's going to be a lot of deaths on the Palestinian side. That's pretty much it. The world has kind of turned its eye away from the Palestinian cause, and I think the world needs to refocus and understand the roots of that cause. You know what I mean? I can't go to somebody's house and kick them out their own house and take their stuff. And then after I kick them out their own house and take their stuff, then talk about peace.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, it's been a lively, informative, very informative discussion. And like I said before we started, we are not anti-Semitic. We are just trying to be objective here at Contemporary Black Voice on what's happening over there. And so we do invite your comments. We welcome them, and we will be willing to read them next week on our show. If you like what we're saying, or even if you dislike what we're saying, please share it with us, and we will share it with all our viewers. In the meantime, this is Contemporary Black Voices saying, telling our story our way.